From CNN's Brian Stelter, is it time for journalists to sign off Twitter? Yes, 100%. It is not the same website it used to be. It's become dominated. It's become a rage bait machine. And according to this story and statements from Stelter himself, it would appear that Twitter knows this, that journalists Twitter knows the lifeblood of their platform is journalism and journalists. And this has been true forever. Journalists make up, I think, like 25% of Twitter. The problem with these sites like BuzzFeed and Huffington Post and Vox is that they only follow each other. So they create this weird cyclical external bubble of garbage that only they live in. It's time to turn it off and go somewhere else. Admittedly, I've slowly been doing that. Actually, I've got a logo at the bottom of the screen. I need to change it. I'm swapping out the Twitter logo. I'm putting in Minds logo because Minds is a place where I think we have a chance to foster something new. Maybe make a better platform. I don't know if it's possible, but I'm going to try. Plain and simple. So in the next video, I'll flip the logo. But Twitter is trash. Let's read the story from Brian Stelter. Never tweet. Sometimes the insanity on Twitter makes my brain hurt. Sometimes the hatred makes my heart ache. But I almost never think about leaving. Until now. Farhad Manjoo published a New York Times column on Wednesday titled Never Tweet. He said it's time we journalists all consider disengaging from the daily rhythms of Twitter. The world's most damaging social network. I agree. You don't have to quit totally. That's impossible in today's news business. Instead, post less, lurk more. Agree. A longtime tech exec sent the link to me and said Manjoo was right. You guys are the lifeblood of Twitter right now, he said. A huge part of Twitter's current value is journalists creating content for the site. I've known this person for years. They don't have an axe to grind against Twitter. They just want journalists to think critically about what Twitter does to news coverage and the civic conversation. I asked, do you think we should go on a Twitter strike? Maybe, they said, or at least take a hard look at the value exchange that's going on. I used to think that the transparency of Twitter helped improve trust in media. I think that's true around the edges, but I'm leaning toward the Silicon Valley exec's view that the incessant tweeting undermines trust. You guys are down in the mud with the bots and the bad faith actors, the tech exec said. Before we continue, going back to that point where I need to address this, you guys are the lifeblood of Twitter right now. Why is it that so many people with blue check marks were able to post insane nonsense targeting kids with a harassment campaign? Why was Milo Yiannopoulos banned? Because his fans said mean things. That's it. Milo, you're gone, they said. Well, that's really weird. Why haven't they banned these people who like this one woman who's like 300,000 followers who offered a blowjob in exchange for someone committing an act of violence against a minor? Seriously. Why isn't she banned? Well, she's not verified. But there are a lot of verified users. There's one CNN correspondent who made reference to the kids being, you can punch them, he said. Something to the fact of these kids are punchable. Something like that. No banning. It's because Twitter knows these people are the lifeblood of Twitter right now. If they start banning the verified users, especially journalists, what's going to happen? They're going to lose money. So of course they can't do it. Honestly, same reason they won't ban Donald Trump. One rogue actor did temporarily, some employee like deleted Trump's account. They brought it back. But look, if you're a really big account, you can break the rules and get away with it. Milo was big, but Milo wasn't big enough. He didn't have support of the mainstream media industry, the media industrial complex. If you work for the New York Times, you can post for years racist and bigoted content, and they'll do nothing about it. Sarah Jung, they don't care. They know. And that's why you are a pleb to Twitter. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't even matter who I am. I am a blue checky 190,000 follower Twitter account. Oh, and they'd ban me out right in a second if they had the opportunity. But I don't go anywhere near the overt politics that some people do. But admittedly, CJ Pearson and Jesse Kelly were banned for literally no reason. No, I mean that literally. They're just both were banned. And everyone said, whoa, what? They then came out and said, we were never given a reason. Twitter reinstated both of their accounts, said, oops, it was a mistake. Weird, isn't it? Because they're conservative, I have no idea. Because they're not CNN, I have no idea. But let's read on. He says, you guys are down in the mud with the bots and the bad faith actors. That's definitely true. The more time someone spends on Twitter, the more likely their view of the world is distorted by all the shouting. And the more likely they start shouting too. Being on Twitter contributes to a sense that the thing being shouted about is hugely important and being discussed by the whole world, when in fact it's being discussed solely by the people who are extremely online. The Covington Catholic controversy is just the most recent example. And it's why I didn't care about Covington Catholic. And I had no choice when I saw 10,000 retweets, viral stories, media outlets were writing about it, and I said, okay, now they're forcing me to write about it. I was going to ignore it. It was nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. And this is something that I've brought up time and time again. People online, especially businesses, if you are a brand, get off Twitter. Seriously. Because these companies will see 30 tweets, I kid you not, like 30 tweets where it's like, I'm boycotting you, and they'll go, ah, and then they'll make some stupid announcement where like, look at everybody who's pulled off Tucker Carlson's show. Literally because someone tweeted. I kid you not. Activist account tweeted, they said, we're canceling our sponsorship. How many customers are you losing who don't care about the fringe activists because someone scared you on Twitter? And the other thing that's really important, needs to be brought up, Twitter is creating a point system for social currency that I think is extremely, extremely problematic. I'll be the first to admit the extreme privilege that I have as a blue checkmark individual with nearly 200,000 followers. What does that mean? It means if I want to go to, I'll tell you what, when I had a problem with an airline and they canceled my flight, I tweeted about it, I tagged them, and sure enough, I got a message, no problem, you are booked and ready to go. And what about all the other people on that plane? Well, they were waiting in line for several hours to get rebooked. Fortunately, Mr. Tim Pool is a premium American, as it were. I think that's terrible. At the time, I was frustrated. I tweeted at them. It wasn't necessarily that I was like, I know I can throw my weight around. I was just angry. And admittedly, to a certain extent, I realize the power of having this following that other people don't have. That is not a power that should exist in our society, but it does. In fact, it only takes a few thousand followers to have this power. Beyond that, a blue checkmark itself grants you that power. And they know it. That's why they de-verify certain people. Look at like Laura Loomer. What did Laura Loomer do to get de-verified, to lose her blue checkmark? She tweeted some silly things about some Muslim women. I believe that was like the primary issue. There was an incident in New York, and then she tweeted like, look at these Muslim women flaunting their hijabs, and a lot of people cringed and facepalmed. Sure, but did she call to action? Like, no, she just said something that people thought was dumb. Why did she lose her checkmark for that? Why is it that there are people right now calling for the death of kids and leading a harassment campaign, and they keep their checkmark? Twitter knows what they're doing, and so long as you're a part of the core mob, they will let you do it. And there's a reason why they only took her checkmark away, because they know the power behind it. This is not something that should exist in our society. It should be removed, plain and simple. It's time. I'll say this. Twitter shouldn't ban anybody, but I think Twitter should be banned. Twitter should not be allowed at this point. Like, I just don't, I don't know. I mean, Twitter is remarkably useful for so many things, but at this point, it's like, it's just become too psychotic. I'm not saying everyone should delete their accounts. I'm definitely not saying newsroom bosses should stop reporting reporters from tweeting. I love Twitter, and I know that that both my personal and professional lives have benefited from it. I met my wife on Twitter, he says. But the site has changed. It is now, as Manju said, the epicenter of a non-stop information war and almost comically undermanaged gladiatorial arena where activists and disinformation artists and politicians and marketers gather to target and influence the wider media world. This is a big problem. It requires big change. By the way, he says, Rob McLean, who edited this letter, read this item and replied, for what it's worth, I deleted my Twitter account last fall. I couldn't take it anymore. And then they have another story. Apparently it's a mysterious Twitter account stoked the DC protest controversy. Who was behind it? That's the other thing. With this weird rage bait cycle, Twitter has created an attack vector for foreign interests and nefarious actors. Look, okay, Democrats, this is reported by the New York Times, Democrats in Alabama created a false flag campaign where they sent a bunch of bots with Russian writing in their names to Roy Moore to create the impression that Russians were propping up his campaign, and the national media fell for this. Get off Twitter. These journalists are addicted to it. It's a big circle where they only follow each other and they don't interact with other groups. And thus we have two different spheres. This has been mapped out. There's a right-wing sphere, a left-wing sphere. There's a resistance sphere, which is separate from the left. And these people don't see anything from anybody else because they all just follow each other. They then start believing insane things, and they don't understand what's actually happening in the world. This is why I try as hard as I can to make sure who I follow is balanced. But for the most part, I recognize this. And that's why in the next video you watch, I got to switch this right here, swap the Twitter logo. I'm switching with Minds because Minds actually does something interesting. They actually generate a core feed which will send you external posts, meaning people you don't follow, politics outside your bubble. I believe that's true. I could be wrong, but I believe that's one of the things they try to do to make sure you're exposed to new, fresh content. Twitter does the opposite. Twitter feeds you algorithmically things they think you like, and people only follow each other, and they're making the algorithmic problem worse. So, to answer Brian Stelter's question, is it time for journalists to sign off Twitter? Yes. I'll see you in a few minutes in the next video, and I'm getting rid of that stupid Twitter logo.